Hello and welcome everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Did the Legendary Summoning Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Naruto Uzumaki, 11 years old, was thoroughly bored stiff. He'd been trying to practice the clone technique, the Bunshin, but nothing worked no matter how much chakra he put into it. His transformation was far superior, and it simply worked. It was the simplest thing in the world, aside from forming a mental image of what he desired. It was a good thing he'd kept his instruction sheet on that one, because the ram seal was much easier to use than the reverse ram that everyone else used. Even so, they had to use the other two hand seals. It's a shame the clone didn't work the same way. Taijutsu practice. No thanks. It was always painful to perform his stances because the positions involved were too awkward. Oh well, if he wanted to be a Kage, he didn't need silly little clone techniques or anything. It was the big, flashy attacks that won, just as the 4th did to all the Stone Ninja during the previous war. But the 4th of July was awesome. His ears suddenly pricked. He'd noticed a light rustling. He noticed an old man in the top of a tree while moving as quietly as he could. Naruto realized the guy was looking away from him, which was probably for the best. He was pretty good at hiding, but any old ninja could probably spot his flashy orange jumpsuit in a split second. Naruto decided to stay as still as he could to see what old guy would do. He was promptly rewarded. Old guy bit his thumb and performed a series of hand seals, a true technique. Naruto paid attention in class like he'd never paid attention before, memorizing the seal sequence, and slapped his hand on the ground, causing a puff of smoke and a toad about the size of a small room. Awesome. Old guy spoke to the toad for a minute before disappearing behind the wall. The toad took a different path, appearing to be heading for the Hokage Tower. But wait, the old guy summoned a toad. That means he was one of the awesome ninja Iruka mentioned a few months ago, the ones who could summon animals. And if old guy could conjure toads, he was. Like the 4th of July, all of the photos from the 4th's final battle showed him riding on the back of a massive toad. Naruto smiled. He now knew how to summon toads as well. He was getting closer to being as awesome as the 4th. There is no better time than the present. Naruto concentrated his chakra as hard as he could, creating a blue light aura around his body. He was going to nail this. Bite your thumb. 5 hand seals, plus. Naruto Uzumaki vanished into thin air. Keen, a fox the size of a large wolf, bounced through the underbrush, following his instincts. Whatever had happened was unusual, and unusual was either worrying or fun. He'd been nearby when the chakra flare indicated that someone was entering the Forest of Confusion, and he couldn't resist going to investigate. Whoever said that curiosity killed the cat hadn't met a fox. He skidded to a halt a few feet short of what appeared to be a human, though it was a little smaller and much better dressed than the old stories suggested. Keen didn't mind that orange was a fox color. He hadn't walked in. He wasn't covered in the paint, tar, feathers, mud, slime, anything that would fit in a trap indicating that he had. Keen made his decision and walked over. So, where did you come from? And then it looked awesome, so I tried it, and there was a poof but not the normal poof of a normal jutsu. And then I felt kinda weird, and I was here, Naruto rambled. Interesting. It happens occasionally, someone tries to perform a summon without a contract, and they end up in a summon realm themselves. Ken mused. This was fascinating. I'll tell you what, could you channel as much chakra as you did to get here? Naruto silently nodded and formed the ram seal. After a brief moment, a visible blue current of chakra formed around him, soon joined by 2 others. Stop, stop, Keen yelled, and the swirling wind calmed down. Riley, the fox, shook his head. Imagine. You have more chakra right now than most full-grown ninja. At the very least, you channeled more than most likely could, so you may have even more in reserve. You said this was the first technique that truly worked for you. The youngster nodded. Not surprised, with that much. Bad points for that. You'll always have trouble controlling that much power, and it'd probably be best if you started training right away to correct that control problem. That clone technique you mentioned having trouble with might be forever beyond you. Good news, though, is that by the time you're fully mature, you'll probably have more chakra than you could possibly use up. He grinned broadly. Could also explain why you appear to have ADHD on the order of a young Fox Clan member, at that. Keen paused and looked up. How long have you been climbing that tree? It felt like it right now. I thought so, too, so let's go meet the older and wiser foxes. Naruto descended the tree. Do you mean talking foxes have an old man? Hokage. Maybe, depending on who this old man Hokage is. Turned up here, you say? inquired a small, clearly elderly Arctic fox who went by the name Mandias. Keen gave a nod. I believe it was an unintentional reverse summon. Remarkable. That means his strongest affinity for animals is with foxes, which could be beneficial to us. Mandias shook his head and walked over to Naruto. Do you mind if I take a little of your blood? It could tell me a lot about you. Okay, sure. I heal pretty quickly anyway, so it's not a problem. The boy extended his hand, and Mandias drew a thin cut along the ball of the thumb before licking up some of the resulting blood. He muttered as he smacked his tongue. Lots of chakra. This blood feels like it should be flammable with how much there is. Wind affinity, nice. Secondary in earth. Traces of unnatural heritage. Nothing special, not much power in it, and a tint of. Mandias raised his head and locked eyes with Keen. Yaokai, red. I believe we found where the boss went since the last time she was summoned. What do you mean, boss, old fox guy? Mandias exhaled a sigh. Have you ever heard of a spirit known as the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Yeah, the awesome 4th Hokage beat it when it attacked my village about 11 years ago. He's supposed to have killed it or something, but it killed him as well. Naruto sighed. But then, I guess it's not all bad, because if he beat the Kyuubi, it means he really was the best ninja in the world. The Arctic fox looked puzzled for a moment before slamming his head against a tree. Stupid. I should have known something was wrong. Okay, Naruto. The Kyuubi no Kitsune, being fox-shaped, is a spirit close enough to one of us that we're on the same summon scroll. Last time she, said Naruto, frowning. I take it you've never met an irritated female. Naruto paused for a moment. Actually, Sekiro was the most terrifying person he knew. Alright, you win. Thank you. She was summoned almost 60 years ago, and she hasn't been seen since. I don't know what happened between then and the time she attacked your village, but I think I know what happened since. When were you born? The 10th of October, the same day the Kyuubi attacked. Right, I believe you're being used as a jail for her. Naruto's eyes blinked. What? You've got to be kidding, I'm not evil, and... I said a prison. If you were the Kyuubi, your chakra would be pure red. Your system is tinted with red, but it also has a hint of the gold of a celestially touched. You're human as I am fox. But, Naruto stammered. If that's the case, why don't you let her out? Mandias gave a gentle smile. I have no intention of doing so. Either she was being controlled in some way, in which case we need to stop it before figuring out how to let her out safely again, or she attempted to destroy your village, in which case she thoroughly deserves her time out. Naruto laughed, partly out of surprise, but mostly because the idea of the world's most powerful spirit of pure destruction taking a time out was hilarious. I'd like you to meet Kuda, the pipe fox, and Lanny, our scroll guardian. Evening, Kuda murmured, half asleep. Lanny turned around when she heard Mandia's voice. Oh, a human. Where did he come from? Mandias grinned. Accidental reverse summon. I think he needs our contract because it's the only way he'll get home, and he's a natural fox summoner. Did you know he regularly pranks his village's elite troops? Lanny burst out laughing. Sounds like you, or me, or any of us, but he did it while wearing that orange suit, against some humans. Nod. Huh. He must be pretty good at hiding his color. Then, Lanny said as she reached into a storage area, and pulled out a massive scroll. Alright, then. Sign with your fingerprints and name in blood. Hello, that's strange. She examined the scroll carefully. The last summoner is still on here, so he's still alive, but the contract's been broken, which isn't supposed to happen, especially since the person in question would be about 100 by now. Ever heard of a Uchiha Madara? If he's still alive, he'd be someone famous. I know a Uchiha guy, but no one else like that. Strange, Lanny said again. Oh well, if you don't mind. For a brief moment, Mandias flicked his tail. Lanny, you're the best of us when it comes to summoning techniques. How would we get young Naruto back to his home? Lanny took out a few smaller scrolls and started flipping through them. Well, after the first time, we can easily handle the transit. Just get the kid to summon Kuda whenever he needs to travel here, and then he can handle the reverse summon to get him back where he came from afterwards. But this first time, she closed her eyes briefly before snapping her claws. I understand. Ikamaru is still the fastest of us, right? Mandias gave a nod. Easily. Alright, give him one of our disposable summon scrolls, key it to the kid, and send him the long way. Or have him sneak through the toad's path. Kuda shook his head. I'll contact him, the pipe fox said as he blew a small puff of smoke into the trees. Lanny, for her part, was busy retrieving the simple summon scroll, and connecting it to the fox of the Forest of Confusion by the name of, rather than the fox summoner, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto got a nice little warm rush from seeing that. He belonged there. Lani was staring at the name she'd written when he noticed her. Nailstrom. I wonder, what exactly is it? She began. Oh, nothing. I suppose it's just a suspicion, and we won't know whether I'm correct or not for decades, if ever. A blur of light shot in from the direction of the smoke, bounced off 2 trees and a branch, and landed on the floor as another fox. This one had silver fur, a tail twice his length, and a prominent squint. What do you want me to do, boss? Lani finished writing and passed the scroll to the silver, charging it with as much chakra as she could. Take this to Konoha, use it, and then return. Ikamaru raised his head. It's always courier missions. I'm not sure why I put so much effort into becoming fast at times. Because you're extremely impatient, now get moving. Ikamaru flew off into the distance, a ribbon of silvery fur trailing behind him. Ah, Gamai Gobo, what was Jiraiya boy after? It was only message delivery. Sage Fukasaku, I delivered his reports to the Hokage's office despite being summoned inside Konoha. Fukasaku laughed. Jiraiya was always a little lazy, but well done. The sage toad turned his head as a sliver of reflected sunlight caught his eye. The foxes. He tightened his grip. Hate bombs once more. Bombs that stink. Taking his employees. Or maybe they'd try something new, like setting fire to the lake, or he didn't know what. What was that unquestionably master prankster going to do now that the foxes were bored enough to resume their infernal-esque antics? Flop. Oh, so it appeared that the fox simply wanted to make good use of the long-distance travel. Hey, you impolite carnivore, come back here. You could have at least asked. Now, remember, all you have to do to summon the right fox is to use at least enough chakra. Try it. It won't blow up or anything if you use too little, and focus on the fox you want. Hyuga closed his eyes for a brief moment. The kid seems lonely. I'll stay with him for at least a few nights if he wants, and when he's here, I'll be ready to bring him back. Naruto felt happiness well up inside him. They were eager to be far nicer than the villagers, the residents. That's why they despised him. But what better way to prove them wrong than to do his best? Lani nodded thoughtfully. You might have to summon Kin instead as a signal that you're ready to come here, Naruto. But as Kyuta suggested, summon him first when you get home to make sure you're doing it correctly. Naruto began to respond before disappearing into the darkness with a wrenching pull. He hadn't felt much before, but with a contract to pull him through, it was a lot more intense, and much shorter. He reappeared on the Hokage monument, illuminated by the setting sun. Wow, if it was sunset here and the sun was still up, albeit turning red, there, how far had he gone? Thank you, Quick Fox. No problem. Call on me if you need a good prank done, Ikamaru said, pouting. Naruto dashed home, reassuring the ANBU assigned to keep an eye on him that he'd slipped surveillance yet again. He did it so frequently these days that it was practically considered ANBU initiation to keep track of the hyperactive kid's general whereabouts for a significant portion of the day. Back in his apartment, he closed the curtains, took a quick look around, and braced himself. All right, here we go, summoning. In one of the familiar puffs of smoke, the pipe fox appeared. Evening again. This place is a bit of a mess. Naruto was depressed. I don't have a family, so... Well, I see what you mean. Are you going to bed? I'll start with supper, can't beat ramen. Naruto took out a pair of instant ramen cups, frowned, and took out another. Then he turned to face his visitor. Would you like one? Kyuta had made his way over to the table. How much of this do you consume? Usually 3 or 4 cups per meal. No, I meant in terms of other things. Naruto's eyes blinked. Do people eat things that aren't ramen? Night, Naruto mumbled, already half asleep. Kyuta, curled around the hanging light, kept an eye on him from above. He's still so young. It doesn't feel right that kids should have to fight and live in this manner. I can see why the Kyuubi was enraged, but not by her methods. Naruto shifted in his sleep, moving in fits and starts. Poor guy, he's probably having a nightmare. Oh well, screw it. Kyuta swooped down and wrapped his arms around Naruto's neck. The warmth seemed to soothe him, and he slowed his pace. A hand reached up to touch him, just to make sure he was there. Kyuta retired for the evening. For the first time in his life, Naruto Uzumaki slept with another person, making him feel safe. Good morning, Kyuta, and thank you. No problem. But isn't it about time you went somewhere else? Your alarm went off, after all. Oh, yeah. Naruto took a quick shower, calling out as he turned on the water. Would you like to come? I might, yes, but it would be best if you let me hide on your arm. Would that work? Skeptic Naruto asked. Does it look more hideous than usual? I am a Kyuda-jitsune. I can become a mere marking on the skin while still hearing and seeing everything that is said and seeing everything that I would normally be able to. Kyuda realized who he was talking to. Yes, that's cool, and I was thinking I should go over to the fox place, the mysterious forest. Yeah, after the academy, I want to see what amazing things Mandias has in store for me. Hey, Naruto, Kiba exclaimed as the Uzumaki walked into the classroom. Is there a reason you smell like a fox more than usual? Don't bring us up, at least not yet. I dunno, maybe I wanted to play the trickster more than usual and went overboard. Kiba burst out laughing. Could be. So, what's today's prank? Naruto was beaming from ear to ear. Just wait and see. Hinata was flushed. Naruto was so sure of himself, so strong. And there was something moving on him that she hadn't noticed before. His blaze of blue chakra obscured almost all the details, so she could only see that it was moving differently than him. Haruka and Mizuki entered the room. Today, class, we'll examine the third of the academy's basic techniques, the replacement. Bang! Every pencil drawer in the teacher's desk had smoke bombs detonated. Naruto, Haruka sighed. Oh, someone had to replace the erasers. Isn't that a cool coincidence? I would detain you if I wasn't so impressed that you managed to time smoke bombs for the exact time I spoke, a day in advance, without my noticing their presence. Instead, I'll make you take your own notes in this class, and they had better be perfect, or I'll give you detention. Naruto swallowed. Good morning, Naruto. There are a few things we could work on for you right now, and I'd prefer it if you worked hard enough to get them all done as soon as possible. Wow, old Mandias, you're going to teach me something. Of course, she says. You're a unique individual, and we've never had a summoner willing to learn all of this before. Our last wanted to use only the Kyuubi, not any of our other abilities. Now for the list. Mandias unrolled a scroll, which read, Pranks, Stealth, Speed, Dodging, Control, Summons, Taijutsu Technique, Wind, Earth, Yokai, Transformation, Senjutsu. It's kinda long. Naruto licked his lips. Has to be, there's a lot to get through. Now, Kyuda's report tells me that you're already quite good on the first two, but you need to work hard on the rest. And the quickest way to fix the third one is going to have to wait. So, your first training session will consist of chakra tree climbing. Oh, so you climb trees and stuff like that. Exactly. It's one of the beneficial training exercises. There are many who are and many who aren't. Got it. Naruto dashed over to a tree and pressed his foot against it before focusing chakra. Might have been a little too much chakra there. Mandias winced as the tree collapsed. Sorry, Crash. Is it still too much? It's still too much. Why not start small and work your way up? Woohoo. Oh, hello again, Keen said, looking up. I see you figured out how to properly stick. Yeah, and it's only the second day, right? The next step is to maintain it while jumping from one location to another. Begin by practicing at a low level. I'll catch you if you fall. Good. You have the kind of tree climbing ability I was hoping for. After only 4 days, that's not bad. From now on, you will be summoned outside the forest proper, Mandias said with a fox grin. Of course, this means you will have to make your way through the trapped perimeter. Keep an eye out for mud, paint, small explosives, and... well, I'm sure you can guess. Do you mean a prank obstacle course? That sounds like fun. Keep an eye on yourself, kid. Some of these traps are devious. I'm going to be fine. How about it, Mandias? Lanny inquired, joining the elderly fox at his scrying pool, which had a limited range but could cover the forest perimeter. He got past the fake tree made of collapsing paint and avoided the jam cannon. The should come next. Splat. ... The earth, water dragon containing seal trap. Yep, and, despite the mud, he only got splashed. Not bad. The small Naruto in the pool came to a small river with a net over it, and noticing the tiny drops of something sticky attached to the net, he went downriver until he found a bridge and began to cross. Be patient. As Naruto lifted his weight off the first half of the bridge, the elastic released, creating one big trigger catch. Twang! Mandias looked up from the pool to see a screaming Naruto fly overhead and land in a lake. I should go get him, Keen said from the other side of the pool. Do you think you'd be interested in learning how to walk on water? What do you mean? Like Keen did to get me out? That sounds fantastic. Alright, that's a yes. By the way, old fox guy, where did all those traps come from? There were a lot of them, and they were all very creative. Well, we are a mischievous totem animal, Mandias smirked. We like to play tricks, and if someone comes up with a particularly good one, it gets added to the perimeter defenses. That preserves it for the future while also making any invader annoyed, tired, soaked, and glowing in the dark from all the paint. Right? Your control is about as good as we can get with water walking. Mandias shook his head, noting Naruto's rapid learning. So we're going to try working with your other chakra source. You mean? Flinched Naruto. Yes, and don't be concerned. Worst case scenario, I can handle the Kyuubi. Okay, if you say so, how do I go about it? I would recommend drawing on more chakra than usual, but I doubt that would be safe here given your regular reserves. I recommend that you simply try to feel the same emotions as she does, it might help. Naruto sat in the center of a small depression lit only by foxfire dancing in the trees, frowning intently as Cory, a fox with strangely translucent fur, stepped up beside his sage. Today has been 4 hours. I believe there is only one thing to do. Cory flicked his tail again, and a fine cloud of downy fur flew off the tip, spreading into a rippling, rainbow-colored mist. Naruto blinked, and the world seemed to shimmer before a puff of smoke surrounded him. So he'd already been summoned back to Konoha. His heart leapt into his throat as the smoke cleared. Hyuga was almost cut in half on the floor of his apartment by an indistinct figure wielding a slim blade. Naruto ... the little pipe fox exclaimed, then fell silent. Why did you have to do that, you monster? Clenched Naruto's fists. Monster, the figure chuckled. No, you're the monster. And now that your filthy familiar has been killed, your power over the Hokage has been broken. And he will rejoice with everyone else when I kill you. Someone had decided to murder him in his sleep because the hour was so late, and they'd killed his friend when he was helpless. This could not be allowed to happen. A surge of strength surged through him, and he became engulfed in a sudden intense bloodlust. Mandias and Cory watched as a volcano of red yokai erupted from their summoner's form. Well, that worked, Cory said, shaking his head. As Naruto charged forward, aiming for something only he could see, Mandias wrapped his tail around the other fox and drew him aside. I already did, there's something wrong. Right, our suspicions have been confirmed. Mandias skidded to a halt, the old fox appearing to shed the weight of ages. Tell Lanny to activate the emergency clause. The sage's form pulsed, and his eyes began to glow faintly yellow. Cory bolted into the distance, heading for the fox's contract house. Keepers, at least I can keep her at bay, the Arctic fox said with a slight smile. Jizo, please. His fur animated and elongated to several feet in length, and he lunged in an attempt to pin down the enraged form of his summoner. Mandias appeared with a splash in a sewer-like water pipe, where the water level was relatively low but easily thigh-deep on the elderly fox. Mandias floated to the surface of the water and shook himself after taking a moment to refocus on where he was, such as no longer attempting to restrain a berserk Jinchuriki. I'm surprised. This isn't what I expected to see in his mental landscape. The Arctic fox began to trot towards a distant light. As he approached, he noticed 2 lights, one blue and one red, the red shifting uncomfortably. He took off running, having his suspicions about why the Kyuubi was acting so differently than when he last saw her. But there was only one way to find out which was correct. Millionaire Mehabitel Mud. What exactly do you think you're doing? Ozy, said the great red beast, perplexed. Then she let out a high, pained fox scream, and the flash of recognition faded, and Mandias, Ozymandias, the oldest of foxes, saw a pattern in her eyes for a brief moment. 3 Tomo chasing each other. I should have known he was only after the contract for the Biju who shares it. He muttered before lunging forward and taking a small fragment of fresh yokai, which he swirled in his maw before retreating. Emotional letterboxing, fictitious surroundings, and a significant memory blocker. Will there be suppression as well? But only for the purpose of implanting commands by the illusion's original caster. And glad someone removed him from our contract for us. Individually, the illusions were only extremely powerful, but when combined, they covered each other's flaws. The false surroundings kept anything from snapping her out of the others. The memory blocker kept her from breaking it from within, and the emotional constraint kept her easily predictable and unlikely to accidentally break the others. Ozymandias focused his chakra and began to lens it through his celestial gates, which was unfortunate because a sage now knew about them. All of his usable, sage-augmented chakra for the dismantling of one illusion, as the saying goes. Given up my fighting power for this task. Let the body's trap, the twisted world's trap, be broken, for I am not the target and yet I will resist. Bend, crack, and snap. He was instantly depleted, his fur losing much of its luster and his legs giving out. What just happened? No matter, it deserved to die anyway. Destroyed by the lovely flames and collapsing ground and waves that made everything so deliciously chaotic. Millie, the Kyuubi frowned, her name ringing familiar. The Buddha put out a hit on you. She replied, of course, I knew too little, without thinking. And then pain struck her. Your name is Millicent Mehabitel Mud. She heard through her screaming headache. You were born from the yokai shed by the destruction of the 10-tailed beast 1,000 years ago. I was your childhood and adult friend. Someone had hit her with an illusion. The pain increased at that thought, and her thoughts wavered. When the word illusion was mentioned in this context, there was only one solution that anyone could accept. She twisted her Yaokai into a scramble pattern, and after a brief struggle, something snapped. Naruto collapsed on the forest floor outside. Alright, what the hell happened next? Mandias, as he preferred to be called, had finished explaining the first 9 centuries of the life of the greatest of the 9 Biju, as well as his own role in it as a bloodless brother. After that, no one knows. Uchiha Madara received the summon contract when he was only about 25 years old, and he was a lot of fun at the time. But after a while he stopped calling us, only bringing out Millie when he needed something broken. We believe he eventually overused her. This would be around 70 years ago, and she either protested or was a little disorganized, and he ensnared her in that horrible illusion web. That's probably when he started using her in battle. Given that the wood release bloodline suppresses Yaokai, the fact that she was docile under its influence was most likely due to a lack of strength. Nothing has happened since then. Millie's memory has been hazy since the first illusion. The good news is that now the only disadvantage of using her chakra is that the sheer potency of it could still burn your system. He shifted slightly. That should fade as you become more accustomed to it. Consider it a trump card for the time being. And if you want to keep her happy, just be interesting, he says with a slight grin. Pranks are preferred. What can I do? Yep, each Biju has a talent that stems from their ridiculous amounts of chakra and their personality. Millie, being a mercurial thinker, can shape change, as can you. Your regeneration comes from constantly shifting into your own form at a low level. As you might expect, that's a handy little trick. Wait a minute. Does that mean everyone else's transformation is just a disguise? Of course, she says. People would otherwise transform into monsters to fight, insects to scout, or birds to travel long distances. And I could do it all. Indeed, I believe even inanimate objects. Naruto began to chuckle, and everyone in Konoha felt a shiver run down their spines. Kajiura. She is medium in size and has the ability to coat herself in fire. Akai, small, but capable of producing water. Doko, very small, but can allow any other person, as long as they're in contact, to use the underground move technique. Good. It's critical to know your summons, especially since the foxes can't use hand seals and all of their arts are based on pure chakra control, which takes years to perfect. They're all one of a kind. Yeah, it's like academy lessons, but a lot less boring, especially when I can meet them in person. I know history would be a lot less boring if I knew the people involved. That's why I paid attention in the founding lesson. After all, I'm familiar with Madara. Is it because he didn't use you that they didn't mention his foxes? He stopped using us before he was 30, which could have been before the company was founded. I assume they only mentioned that he used Millie. Otherwise, they would have mentioned the Kyuubi. Yeah, in a big fight 60 years ago against the first Hokage. I believe he died at the age of 40, and everything fits together. Millie never returned after that. Let's see. Death for a tailed beast is only temporary, they're too powerful. Anything with more than 2 tails of power would detonate anything non-living as a container, and 3 tails would also detonate anything non-human. As a result, the obvious conclusion is that you are not the first container. Actually, 9 tails of power is a ridiculously large amount of chakra. I believe your heritage is the only thing keeping you safe there. How does the tail measurement work? I thought we discussed this. Each additional power tail represents a doubling. So the sage, the container of the 10 tails, is said to have divided much of its power into 9 packets of chakra, 1 to 9 tails worth. I'm not sure where the rest is. It could just be slack in the main packets, but it'll range from just nosing a tail of chakra to well over 9. Adding powers of 2 can be strange. Naruto smirked, knowing they'd never figure this one out. He'd spent a few hours scouting out the restaurant and distillery, and had found a few bottles of sake that were thrown out when a batch was improperly produced. A few hours in the fridge for the sake, freezing out the water content, and he had some of the most potent alcohol in the elemental countries. He positioned his doctored bottle next to him, making it visible from the till, and shapeshifted into another bottle. After a quick double replacement, his Everclear strong sake bottle was among the meal refreshment collection. Now to wait until someone ordered it. A series of crashes came from the restaurant, and a swarm of customers charged out, followed by a girl with her hair in buns, a long-haired person who was probably a boy, and a tall man in green spandex, all of whom exited through the window. As Naruto moved around to get a better look, he overheard them talking about how someone had gotten drunk from the fumes and gone insane. He laughed to himself, and he heard a high fox laugh in the back of his mind. Listening? Good. Mandias curled his tail tighter around the gnarled walking stick. And if you're not absolutely still, Or if you do this incorrectly, I will sadly have to hit you in the face with this cane. Okay, what does it do? Where did you get it? Well, when you try to channel natural energy while moving, bad things happen. And the stick puts a stop to the bad thing. I stole it from the Frog Clan a few decades ago, and I understand the previous owner was furious. Of course, not everything works right away. Naruto scowled. He could channel nature energy, but he couldn't keep it when he moved. If he wanted to use his newly enhanced chakra, he'd be pinned to a single spot on the ground, though he could at least move his arms. On the bright side, this means you can summon me right now. Huh? Blinked Naruto. And I thought we went over this. A sage who has used nature chakra for centuries, such as myself, becomes so ingrained in the natural world that they cannot be summoned by ordinary human chakra. And using Yaokai would be counterproductive in terms of stealth. Use the Bunshin, Naruto. Why not try something else, something over which I have actual control? It's not my fault that a half year of intensive chakra exercises can't change the fact that I have enough chakra to relocate Konoha to a new location, and the Bunshin takes, about 1/5 of 1% of my. The Bunshin, Naruto, Iruka interrupted his student's rant. Making excuses will not help you in a fight. Naruto mumbled to himself that the Bunshin would be useless in a proper fight as well, then dutifully channeled the smallest amount of chakra he could and formed the seal. Bunshin, 3 half-dead replicas appeared, each on about 5 times the normal chakra requirement, which was completely amazing in his opinion, as it pegged his relative control as being able to perform anything other than a flimsy little illusion only useful against civilians. Fail, Naruto Uzumaki. Sorry, Naruto, but there's a reason they're the fundamentals. Perhaps try again next year. Mizuki attempted to defend him, but Iruka cut him off. He's probably afraid of showing favoritism, especially since others might think you're bribing him to let you pass. Hyuta was probably correct. Oh well, nothing said he couldn't try again in a year, but by then he'd have done so much chakra control practice that he'd be spare. You know, there's another way to get through. Naruto listened. Steal the scroll of forbidden seals. Learn something from it. It sounded too good to be true. Surely there were some techniques on the scroll that had no reason to be forbidden but required a massive amount of chakra. It's probably too good to be true, and he smells dishonest, but go with it. Naruto crept through the Hokage Tower late at night, searching for the scroll. Trouble. Hello, old man Hokage, the boy world. So you caught me, huh? No problem. I'll have plenty of time to finish this. Naruto won his first battle against an enemy in an unusual way, and with Kyuta's laughter hissing in his ears, he legged it with the scroll. The first one, Teiju Kage Bunshin. Shadow clones drain large amounts of chakra, and the multiple variants of the technique intensify this drain. Memory backlash, you say. What are solid clones? This means, this is perfect. Pumped Naruto's fist. Goodbye, weakness. It's better than that, as of the moment you realize this, your clones are a source of strength. Right, seals. Only 3. Neat. Are you going to learn something new? Naruto sat back on the floor, exhausted but triumphant, and began to channel nature chakra, temporarily transforming himself into a sensor as his early warning system. I'll look into it. Shiki Fujin, perhaps. No way. No how. Why are there so many damned suicide techniques? A technique that simply kills you. Why? Wind spiral cannon. Massive drain. Obviously windy, requires a lot of control. Well, at least there's something to aim for. And, of course, Hyuta, can you remember the page? I believe we're running out of time. Good day, Iruka-sensei. I took the special test Mizuki mentioned. Do you have to grade me or can you do it now? Special test. Blinked Iruka. Mizuki's laughter rang through the trees as he explained in great detail how he'd fooled the boy who was really a demon in disguise. Honest, that shade of blonde can't be natural, and besides, it was obvious because the boy had. Naruto ignored him and bit his thumb. Summoning death from on high. Mizuki was flattened by a fox the size of a building. So, sensei, should we return the scroll now? You just summoned a fox, Iruka said, blinking. Yeah, I discovered that if you try to copy the summoning technique without a contract, strange things happen. Very intriguing, Naruto. Why didn't you notify me of this contract earlier? Well, I was busy training. They're much better teachers than the academy teachers, though I suppose that's not surprising if Mizuki is one of them. Right? Well, I think it would be silly to fail someone who has a contract and knows how to use it. Naruto, you've graduated, and I'd like to know how these foxes differ from the other summons I've met. Wow, how many different kinds have you seen? Well, aside from the ones I met across the battlefield, I have the monkey contract, appropriate, I suppose, and then there's the toads, snakes, and slugs held by my 3 Sannin students. They must have been incredible. How did they get it? Well, Jiraiya got his by chance. He saw me summoning and decided to imitate me, but because he didn't have a contract, he was teleported to Mount Mayaboku, the realm of toads. Naruto laughed himself out of his seat. Oh, that's priceless. The sheer irony. Biwahaha. What are the chances? Naruto, are you okay? Asked Sandiam, concerned. He'll be fine once it's out of his system, said a voice. Hello, Hokage of Konoha. I'm Kyuda, Pipe Fox, and I live inside his skin as an animate tattoo during the day. He's laughing because that's exactly how he obtained us as summons. There are no shortcuts to becoming a ninja. However, I would advise you to ask your grandfather what his summons, the monkeys, believe is the best path to strength. After all, they'll be yours someday, right? Yeah, grinned Konohamaru. That's correct. I'll be a monkey-style ninja and beat you every time. You want to say that again, Chimpy, said Naruto. Foxes are also excellent. When we fight over who gets to be Hokage, we'll settle it. Abisu stroked his chin. Well, that's one way of putting it. Hopefully, the Honorable, the Honorable Konohamaru will listen to me now. Better see the Hokage about the summons idea, though it makes far too much sense to be ignored. Hey, while we're waiting, let me introduce you to my summons. You have a summon, said Sasuke, frowning. The person who only survived due to a divine intervention. I told you, the teacher was looking for a reason to fail me, Naruto scowled. But, in any case, he sat cross-legged on the grass and closed his eyes, feeling for the world's natural energy. Naruto, you're not supposed to be sleeping. That should suffice, so he bit his thumb and flashed through the seals for his preferred technique. Summoning, old guy. Good morning, Naruto, Mandias said through a puff of smoke. So, these are your new pack, teammates. Yeah, that's Sasuke. He's pretty good and comes from a clan, but he's an emo. And that's Sakura, who is extremely powerful when she hits me. Hehe, indeed, said Mandias, frowning. He turned to the other two genin and asked, would you mind if I tasted your blood? You, exclaimed Sakura. Why would you even ask such a question? If your summons are all like this, Naruto. No, it's not like that, Naruto said, waving his hands. It's extremely useful. He was able to tell what affinity I had as well as anything else unusual when he did it with mine. Sasuke walked over, slitting the ball of his thumb with a kunai, and handing it to the fox. Thanks, lightning and fire, an intriguing attacking pair of elements. Good chakra reserves, a tinge of black chakra, I'm not sure where all. Blood limit, vision based, active but trauma locked. What do you mean, trauma locked? Sasuke questioned. Your blood and the chakra in it has a slight taste of an active power, but it hasn't been used in years, Mandias said, meeting his gaze. Because you're not a moron, it's traumatically locked. You might not have even noticed it turning on. As I previously stated, you have a small amount of non-human chakra. It's not exactly rare, Naruto has it as well, but because yours is black, you should be cautious because you'll be more easily influenced mentally than usual. You can train to overcome that, but you wouldn't have known if I hadn't mentioned it. Sasuke walked over to a stump and sat on it, irritated by what the fox had said. So, there's an easy way to see if he's right. Have our, very late, sensei administer a chakra affinity test to me. Meanwhile, Sakura had hesitantly approached. Can I? Alright, the Arctic Fox said regally. Sakura followed in the footsteps of Sasuke, making a small incision in her thumb and passing the kunai to Mandias. The fox licked the blade with his tail, his eyes widening. Saints, Naruto, who assembled your team. This is outrageous. I was thought to have passed last due to the Mizuki thing. Sasuke is the best of the year, and Sakura is the best Kunoichi. Right, because if this were the Strange Chakra Club, it would be less strange, he said to Sakura. How are your parents as ninja? Sakura became concerned. They're civilians. I've never felt anything like your chakra. It's about average in quantity, but it's divided into two types. A small pool for normal use, and a larger one for, well, you're not entirely human either. You have a strong gold chakra tint as well as two chakra pools. I'm assuming you have an internal dialogue at times. Sakura jumped. In that case, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Sakura, you have divine ancestry, strong enough divine heritage to be useful. I dare say that with a little practice, you could switch around your traits on the fly. He licked the kunai again, water-natured right now, but that's not set in stone. Mandias shook his head. And I thought things were strange before. All three of you could have true names. You could all learn them by the age of 30, even 20. This is ridiculous. Oi, old man, what should we do in the meantime? Stratagem 28, Mandias said, flicking his tail. Oh, yes, Bunshin Cage. A massive horde of Narutos appeared and began causing havoc in the forest, grass, lake, and everywhere else they could. Lure them onto the roof, then take away the ladder. Sakura frowned. What exactly do you mean? The The clones have encircled the area. If this sensei wants to put you to the test, let him have one of his own. Time passed, and Sakura and Sasuke asked Mandias for more information on their apparent ancestors, while Naruto's 1,000 clones set up ever more elaborate traps, including some that would have been impossible without shapeshifted clones in the machinery. "This is ridiculous," Naruto said as he sat back down next to his team. "Okay, guys, I got the place as trapped as I could without being obvious, and I checked. He's not close enough for me to sense, which means he's not in the training ground. Are you now a sensor? Only when I'm not moving and have some free time to think. Hey, old man, are there any foxes who could work well with these guys? Tell me," Sasuke, Mandias said, frowning. "Do you have any suggestions?" "Fire," the Uchiha said, nodding. "Alright, I'm thinking Aura for him and Nii for Sakura." "Got it. Assistants are needed. Must you always say something silly as part of the summon?" Mandias shook his head as the other foxes appeared in bursts of smoke. "Why yes, I must," Naruto said, turning to the 2 foxes he had summoned. The larger one, about the size of a normal fox, had a smooth but unusually large tail, while the other was about 5 inches long and had dichromatic eyes. "Aura, you'll be working with the guy with the duck hair. He has fire attacks." "Fire attacks," yipped Aura. "And what use are you?" Sasuke muttered. "I do big wind gusts." Sasuke's pupils dilated. "Yep, big boom. So, you have another personality?" Nii asked Sakura. "Let us investigate." Sakura blinked and found herself in a field of grass. "Welcome to the inside of your mind." Nii barked softly to get her attention. "By the way, I'm impressed. It's a lovely place. If you have 2 personalities, there should be another person here." Before a call came from the distance, Sakura looked around. "Hey, nice to see you made it, other me." Sakura walked over, this time with more assurance and a spring in her step. "Ah, okay. You and your partner must now figure out how to swap places. In my case, it's now as simple as mental effort alone, but only after a lot of practice. Looking at the 2 of you, I'd say one is about power, combat strength, and so on, while the other is about knowledge, control, and so on. Being able to switch between the 2 would be extremely beneficial, and all you would need to do to be well-rounded would be to develop both equally." "That work," said Sakura, pointing to a chair near where she'd first appeared. May I?" said the other, inner Sakura. "Alright, I'll notify you if we need to swap again. You should be able to get in here more easily after this. If you need help, just ask Naruto to summon me again." She puffed into smoke. Sakura's eyes blinked. "Does it work?" asked Naruto and Sasuke, concerned. "Hell yes. Now, let's see." Naruto gulped as she moved over to a tree. "Not that one, it's stuck." "No, that one is also trapped. And you know what else? I'll show you which one isn't." "Alright, let's get started." Sakura punched the tree, leaving a dent, a deep dent at that. "I'm scared now," Sasuke said, blinking. "Hehe, so much for being a terrible sparring partner. To get the bells, you must attack me with the intent to kill. You made us wait 3 hours for this," twitched Naruto. "Don't be like that, now, go." Sasuke fired a small fireball at Kakashi before rejoining Naruto, and Sakura and Aura jumped to his feet, creating a strong wind with his tail that fanned the fireball to enormous proportions. Before jumping for cover from the fireball, Kakashi took a moment to notice that the 3 were moving together rather than separately. "Was that a fox I noticed?" As he approached the edge of the small clearing, he was cut off, and all hell broke loose. Paint, jam, water, some kind of gunk that became harder when struck, tar, feathers, more paint, treacle, academy glue, high-proof alcohol, grass, mud, and hundreds of academy-grade kunai and shuriken were strewn about. Sakura and Sasuke watched in awe as Naruto's breathing became more even and his eyes turned orange. "He's near the lake," they discovered after his eyes opened for a brief moment. "I've devised a strategy to get me into close combat. And I know how to pass all of us. Shadow clones can change shape," he explained, slightly downplaying his ability. "So we can just fake a bell or 2. He won't be able to tell which of us doesn't have a bell as long as we have at least one." He stood up, his sage marks quickly fading, and the 3 of them took off. "If we can drive him to the lakeshore, then we can pincer him against it," Sasuke reasoned. "Sorry, won't work. A skilled ninja can walk on water. I can, too, but only because of extensive control training to allow me to manage the clone. And it still wasn't working." "Okay, would you mind showing me how?" "I'll be glad to later. We could try it tomorrow before our sensei arrives. So I'm thinking we do straight taijutsu with myself, my clones, and Sakura, while Sasuke and Aura blast him if he goes for the lake." "Got it," Sasuke said, nodding. "What happened to Aura?" "Here, now," Naruto said, appearing in the arms of a shadow clone. Take Sasuke to the other side of the lake, disable the traps as you pass. Bring in more clones. Give him 2 minutes, then we go in, Naruto and Sakura said to the clone and Sasuke. Kakashi ducked, dodged, and dismantled the horde of shadow clones swarming him. When he noticed one moving in a slightly different manner, he decided to see if it was the real one and grabbed it, twisting Naruto's arm. Something moved in his peripheral vision. For an instant, the Naruto in question became Sakura, who punched him so hard that he flew out over the lake. Great big fireball. Whoosh. Then came the fire. The 3 Genin candidates watched as the Jonin vanished underwater. A hiss rising as the wind-boosted fire on his clothes was extinguished. Here, Naruto said, tossing a bell to each of the other 2. Are you sure at least one of these is real? Asked Sasuke. Yeah, Kyuda said, his head poking out of his sleeve. This guy here's a pipe fox, and he can meld with my skin to form a mobile tattoo. He got them in the split second before Sakura replaced me, and bingo. We've got to set things on fire and do something useful. Aura jumped around. The Uchiha liked the fox's attitude toward explosions and thought Aura would make a good collaboration partner. His mind filled with images of beating Itachi using a collaboration technique. After all, partners were one thing his brother lacked. Well, that's a pass, excellent teamwork. That was all I was after. Nice way to show it, sensei, Naruto smirked. And do you need assistance removing the fluorescent orange paint? No, twitched Kakashi. What about the treacle? Thank you, I can handle it myself. What about the tar? Feathers? Oh no, jam. I didn't think it would work. Kakashi snapped his fingers, and his clothes were instantly clean. Wow, how did you accomplish that? Naruto inquired, intrigued. Trade secret, Kakashi said, smiling. 1. I don't believe you 3 monsters are prepared to learn. Sakura frowned and blinked, her form's posture shifting from poised for movement to a more passive state, and she formed a seal. Kakashi's henge vanished, revealing that he was still splattered with the ammunition from a dozen traps, and he twitched again. Monsters, he said. Nice work on the switch, Sakura, exclaimed Naruto. If they think they have us figured out, that will come as quite a surprise. Henge wavered as Sakura fired another dispel, but remained the same as Kakashi coughed. Sasuke frowned. Do you have more than one henge up? 17. Summons, the Jonin replied cheerfully before rounding on Naruto. According to the old man Hokage, it's the same way Jiraiya of the Sannin got his. They're fine, with no destructive tendencies other than an occasional fondness for explosions or the like. They also helped me deal with my ADHD, which I am grateful for. Understood, the Haddock shuddered. Team 7 succeeded. And sorry, what? You passed a team? Inquired another Jonin. They got me, Kakashi said, unconcerned. This completely vindicates my testing method for the last 5 years. A team of 3 Genin can take on a Jonin. And to suggest otherwise is ludicrous. One of the Jonin in the room, a Hyuga, frowned, activated his bloodline, and sniggered, causing almost as much shock as Kakashi's earlier announcement. How many traps did you get caught in? About 20 or so. That Uzumaki kid is a nightmare to deal with, especially with that contract. He managed to provide the Uchiha with the assistance of a wind-focused summon and somehow transform Haruno into a Taijutsu talent. He's that good at catalyzing other ninja. Blinked the Hokage. Well, it appears you have a group of students who will put you to the test. Alright, guys, I spent last night working on them. Sakura examined the small scroll she had been given, which contained a series of complex seals, an empty line, a pair of bloody paw prints, and the name Ni. Is this a summons? Sorta, it's a branch contract, I believe. He grinned. It's as if you put your name down as a cadet summoner, and some of the foxes will sign to your name and thus summon you. And vice versa, which is genuine gold. Vice versa. Sasuke's mind began to race. Is that what I think it means? It means that with these, all it takes is a couple minutes of planning and you can be summoned wherever you want. Naruto grinned brightly. But I don't have the chakra to. Sakura became agitated. Strong you does, but smart you does not. That means that if things go horribly wrong, we could just be summoned straight to the hospital. She thought for a moment, then smiled. Or we could be summoned out of a trap, or as reinforcements against an unexpected enemy, or... I've got a warning, though, Naruto said, raising his hand. I obtained my summon contract by performing the summoning technique with a large splash of chakra and no contract. As a result, I was assigned to the realm of the most appropriate animal. If either of you wants to try it, you must do so before signing this cadet contract. The old fox is fine with people having both a cadet fox contract and another, but he will only extend it to a few people. Your potential really impressed him, right? Sasuke thought. I'll try it out. Pass me the contract, and have Aura call me if I take too long. If you do end up somewhere, try to find out where you are in the Summon Lands, Naruto said as he passed over the scroll. Mount Myaboku's toads have a long-distance travel well that leads here, so that's a good place to start. Naruto directed the Uchiha to take a soldier pill for a quick chakra boost in case he didn't have enough, go through the summoning pattern, and dissolve in a puff of smoke. Well, that worked, grinned Naruto. Hi, sorry I'm late. I was doing my laundry and the machine clogged, Kakashi said as he walked in. Could you paint, sensei? Never mind your lip, Naruto. So, where is the other one? He's off getting a summon contract, Sakura exclaimed. Isn't he amazing? Oh well, at least I get partial credit for showing him how to do that, sighed Naruto. This Genin team was starting to look like a potential 3 Sannin all over again, which meant more work for Kakashi. Alright, that's nice. Our first mission will be a rescue mission. Wow, that's incredible, Naruto yelled. Yes, we must relieve a family's boredom by babysitting. I retract my fantastic remark. Mandius sat on his haunches in the forest claimed by the fox summons, perfectly scented, communing on a fundamental level with nature. He was taken aback when he noticed a large bird flying towards him. He opened his eyes to see the hawk, clearly a large Summon Clan member, flying gently down towards him, and it landed on a branch after a few seconds of him getting up and stretching. The Sage of the Foxes, Taidwi here, Hawk Tribe Messenger. A young human with a cadet contract from your clan has appeared among us, seeking our strength to join his own. Have you got an explanation? I do. The boy is an ally of our newest summoner, and he performed the summon with no contract to see what he is best suited for. He'd be a good choice because his chakra is strong, and while it has a black tint to it, he's aware of it and will likely work to overcome it. He carries fire and lightning, and his eyes will be sharp when he is fully capable of using them. Understood. We will not regard his petition negatively. You have no objections to him having your cadet contract and our true contract? No, I don't. Then we won't have any problems with the situation, Taidwi said, spreading his wings. Live long and prosper, Sage. Naruto exhaled a sigh. D ranks. I despise D ranks. We're aware, Naruto, one of your clones brings it up every few minutes. He sighed and pulled another weed from the ground. It wasn't bad as D ranks went, but it was incredibly boring. He hadn't made time to consult with Mandius about the emergency strength training plan, and his sudden lack of progress felt terrible. Oh, he was progressing, but not as quickly as he had on the glorious night he learned the Shadow Clone. And, according to the Fox's rules, he couldn't consider it mastered, couldn't move on to learning something else, unless he could do it under pressure, with only one seal. Mandius had mentioned that once the Shadow Clone was defeated, he could begin learning multiple things at once by utilizing their memory return capacity. Sasuke had it slightly easier, with his summons insisting on changes to his techniques to increase their range and travel speed, even at the expense of power. He wasn't arguing with them because that made it plausible that he could rain down destruction from the heavens once he built up enough chakra to summon a hawk that could carry him. Finally, his clones exclaimed as the final dozen weeds were pulled out. He dispersed them into groups and evaluated their memories with a strong will. Wow, if he ever needed to, he'd be able to describe the appearance of a garden. He cast a glance between the filthy Sakura and the irritated Sasuke. C rank. C rank. Well, I do have a mission to wave, and it's an escort mission. Naruto paused for a moment. Isn't this just going to be a lot of walking? Sasuke laughed. We might have to fight, but at the very least it'll be less boring. Kakashi cocked his brow. Boring, eh? Well, if boredom is your concern, I'll make the D ranks more interesting when we return. You'd better stick to it. Okay, we'll take it. Tezuna entered the room. How come all ninja are so short? The third smirked. Short? Yeah, there's the 3 brats here. And then there's you, who's so old that the same thing applies. The only ninja I've seen are either extremely young or extremely old. That's because the tall ones are too stealthy to be seen. Mr. Tezuna. Tezuna took a look around. Wait, who said that? Sakura knelt down to the boys. How inebriated is he? Naruto inhaled deeply. I'd say 2.5 sheets to the wind. Tezuna examined the half-dozen other images of him walking down the path. This is creepy. That's exactly what I was going to say, another Tezuna said, nodding. Naruto raised his voice. It's so no one knows which one is the real you, he explained as he gazed at yet another Tezuna clone. Another complained about brats not paying attention to people when they speak. All but one of the Tezunas flickered slightly as the small group walked past a puddle. When the demon brothers emerged from the puddle, they charged for that one, encircling Kakashi and Naruto as they went. When they arrived at the real Tazuna, he smirked and punched Mizu so hard that he knocked him out. All of the images vanished, revealing that the real Tazuna was on the other side of the group inside a clone of himself, and that Sakura had been wearing a transformation illusion. Kakashi stepped out of the trees unscathed, while Naruto simply shapeshifted into a brick to escape the coils. For a split second, Sasuke stood motionless before a hawk descended from the sky and raked across Gazu's scalp. The Uchiha used the distraction provided by his summon to kick the last demon brother in the, well, let's just say he was in male pain. So, Sensei, it appears they were after the bridge guy after all, Naruto muttered from the ground. He grinned as he shifted back a fraction of a second later. Huh? Take that. How on earth did you do that? Ninjutsu, magic, alchemy, at least one of these. Point, how could you possibly hurt this little bunny, Naruto? What were you thinking? Naruto thought about it. At first, I thought, suspicious noise. But when I realized it was a rabbit, my thought changed to lunch. Lunch? That is inhumane. Fox, you have a point, Sasuke said, raising an eyebrow. What source did you get it from? Said Naruto, taking his gaze away from the rabbit. What you're saying is meaningless. As a result, if you have a point, you borrowed it from somewhere. Did you really make that joke? I honestly don't know. When he heard a harsh cry from above, Sasuke acted quickly. Downed, a massive sword flew overhead, embedding itself in a tree. Leave me alone. Get the client out of here, yelled Kakashi from inside the water prison. No way I'm going to do that, said Naruto, shaking his head. Nothing could persuade me to abandon a teammate. Flibbertige a bit. I'm a duplicate. What? Zabuza's eyes widened. He turned to the seaward side of the battlefield and saw Naruto standing on the water, bent down, sticking his bloody hand in the sea and grinning. After a tense second, something looped around Zabuza's ankles and dragged him down, breaking the grip but losing the water prison as he half fell. Sasuke smiled as the same hawk from before disrupted the water clone Zabuza had left. They never think to look up. Kakashi regained his footing on the water and noticed a slim, streamlined fox vanish beneath the surface in a cloud of bubbles. Naruto dashed in, instantly creating a dozen clones. One of them made a face at Zabuza and began imitating his movements. Zabuza casually tossed a handful of kunai, used a quick water technique to shield himself from the oncoming clones, and began planning a much more impressive attack on Kakashi. Unfortunately for him, Kakashi had developed his 4 non-affinity elements to the point where they could nearly match his lightning, and thus knew exactly where he was going with the water dragon. So I beat him to it. Zabuza had just enough time to scream before being blasted back by a massive, majestic water dragon. Okay, it's a fancy-shaped hose blast, but it's a nice-looking fancy-shaped hose blast. Hey, Sensei, that was really cool. Is there one of those for other elements? Naruto, predictably, adored it. There is, indeed. But I've never seen the wind dragon used before, and the water version is actually quite poor in comparison. There are far too many hand seals. I have hordes of shadow clones. I could set 50 performing it at once and get at least a few of them off, Naruto shrugged. And it's really cool. Right, now who are you working for? Sakura marched over to the concussed Zabuza. A masked ninja dropped from the trees and explained how he was a hunter ninja, and how it was perfectly reasonable for him to be using his amazing talents in tracking down a missing nin, but for him to have gotten his first break in positively years because of a team of genin. Mr. Hunter Nin, if that's true, then why isn't he dead? Naruto asked as he sat on the shore. He looks dead to me, the Hunter Nin said, looking down at Zabuza. Yeah, but his chakra is still present and such. Why did you use those tiny needles if they weren't going to work properly? Okay, there's a very good explanation for that, Haku said as he knelt next to Zabuza. Swordsman and Hunter vanished with a flash of speed. As Kakashi began banging his head into a tree, Naruto remained staring at where they'd vanished. Naruto. Sasuke noticed he hadn't moved in nearly a minute. SSSH, I'm afraid I'll miss the explanation. What's the point of fighting Gato? You'll lose. Gato is unbeatable. Sensei. Naruto pondered for a moment. Do you have a bingo book on hand? Is there anyone here who fits the description of this Gato? Nobody by that name, but there are a few it could be. So, this Gato, a tall woman in her mid-20s with long blonde hair. No, he's a short man with sunglasses, Inari said, blinking. What is his special ninjutsu? Does he employ genjutsu? Is he a taijutsu expert? He has a lot of men working for him. Now, see, I don't see how that really works as a credible threat, Naruto frowned. I mean, Sasuke can make massive fireballs, Sakura can practically level trees with a punch, and I can make an army with a single hand seal, and I have no idea what Sensei can do when he concentrates, but that's because he's never had to. It makes no difference, there are no heroes. Over half of the people I know are heroes in some way, Kakashi said, raising an eyebrow. There's no point, you'll just die. Look, kid, you still have a parent, Sasuke said. Stop being depressed, you're better off than 3/4 of our team. But Sekira approached Tezuna with an idea. Mr. Tezuna, how old are you? I'm about 56 years old. Why? Did your parents ever tell you about Fire Country's vast plains? Actually, yeah, though I'm not sure what they meant. There has always been forest there. The forest is barely a year or two older than you, Kakashi said again. Hiroshima Senju created it himself, using a massive technique. Then, to brag, he turned some of it into low-cost, high-quality housing for an entire village. The citizens of the wave could only gape. Hiroshima Senju himself trained the Hokage you saw in Konoha. We're still living in a time of legends, kid, and we're going to join them. Grinned Naruto. Sasuke's eyes blinked. Well, it worked, he said, and now he had a whole new set of disturbing memories to work with. But time had dulled the ache. He could analyze those moments, burned into his memory with the Sharingan, and see things that were wrong. Itachi had been upset, but had hidden it behind a mask of insanity for some reason. Some of the dead had been killed by Itachi's sword, but others, all the young, some of the old, and a few of the mature clan members, had been killed by a different weapon, which appeared to have been done by Akama because the cuts were wider and shallower. Finally, he was still alive. By any standard, a Sharingan activating at the age of 8 was impressive, and more of a test of capacity than a 3-year-old child. But he had been abandoned and his memory of his Sharingan had been erased. Why? If he was going to be a bigger challenge later, why block the Sharingan? It didn't make sense. That did it, then? Nii asked, flicking her tail. Is the memory blocked down? Sasuke gave a nod. Right? If you have any further issues, summon Naruto or Sekira. The fox vanished in a puff of smoke. "Aw, good," Kakashi said. "Now it's time for intensive Sharingan training. Continue your intensive training in whatever you're doing. Naruto and Sekira. Minimum of 10 hours per day. That is per clone, Naruto. Remember when he was lazy?" Sekira moaned as she resumed the chakra capacity building exercise. "Hey, old guy, I think we need to go for that red power source you mentioned," Naruto said as he summoned Mandias. "Are you certain?" Isolated islands, hundreds of miles from any hidden village, with only a few experienced ninja in the vicinity. It might even scare them away. "Alright, however, send a clone to warn your sensei." Sekira carefully balanced on the side of the tree, having to balance a leaf at the same time. Kakashi's idea being that if she exerted her chakra in her finesse state for long enough to exhaust it, then switched to the other and back, she could manage constant chakra training. Then a powerful volcano blew her completely off the tree. "Good, good, this is as far as your aura can go without leaking energy." Mandias yelled into the gale of power. "If you need more power, compress it so that it becomes an extension of your body." Mandias watched as the aura of red Yaokai surrounding Naruto darkened and shrank, forming a layer an inch deep over his skin. Any moment now, the chakra shroud sprouted ears, claws, and a single lashing red tail with a ripple. Naruto gradually stabilized the cloak, then stood up again, his face scrunched from the effort of will to keep it in place. "Excellent work, Naruto. Maintain that for as long as you can." The power called no longer changes the difficulty nearly as quickly. As you draw more of Mila's chakra, it becomes self-stabilizing. Form follows function. This tale feels extremely strange. It's almost, but not quite, under control. Training. Fought Mandias. 255 shadow clones, each with one tail. That should be nearly all of Mila's power at once, spread across 256 different clones. Then get them to spar. "Alright, Naruto." Sekira stomped over to where Naruto was training. "You'd better have a good explanation." She saw hundreds of clones, each cloaked in what felt like pure chakra, with a tail, sparring and demolishing trees, and it didn't escape her notice that they were sustaining hits without dispelling. "What should we do, Master Zabuza?" That unmistakable feeling of Yaokai on the verge of perception made Zabuza shiver. "We're leaving as soon as we can." Suddenly, the sensation became about 200 times stronger. "In fact, much sooner. I need you to transport me somewhere outside of the country." 3 explosive tags, a note for Gato. So much for stealth, Kakashi thought, though there was something to be said for sheer brute force, especially in such a remote location. "Now, Naruto, I told you that the best way to gain dexterity is through careful fine manipulation. Somehow, using enough power to level a small country on building a bridge seems just wrong, old guy." A joist wobbled and nearly fell, but the tail Naruto was using adjusted itself and stabilized the long beam of wood, while the rest of the bridge workers tried to ignore their crane's strangeness. Control is essential, and it does you no good if you harm your allies as much as your enemies. Kiba, you might want to reconsider. A rope twang wrapped around Kiba's leg and launched him into the air. Was that a trap? Kurenai sighed. Hinata, you should have warned poor Kiba earlier. I didn't want to impose on you, sensei. Shino vanished into a cloud of bugs, revealing himself to be a clone, as a spray of fluorescent pink paint jetted from what had appeared to be a harmless bush. Kurenai pursed her lips. It appeared that the area was dangerous in more ways than one. Hinata, what are the nearest traps? Byakugan. Maybe we should stop moving now, sensei. How many? Okay, show me the safest route. Hinata focused, then frowned. I can't see one at all. There's no way back. Does that even make sense? Kurenai asked as she spun in place. I don't understand it either, Shino said, shaking his head. It appears that Training Ground 7 has recently been used for something noteworthy. What should we do now? Call for help, Shino asked after a brief pause. Kiba landed with a splash in the nearby lake after a scream doppled out of the sky. Well, that was a letdown. You must speak for yourself, sensei. Sasuke reclaimed his Sharingan. Sakura easily doubled her chakra reserves and reduced her aspect, switching to an art. And I stabilized my chakra cloak's two-tail form. I was going to ask about that. Why weren't you completely insane? Naruto tapped his palm and took 3 pamphlets from Kyuda. Here, Sakura, Sasuke, you should find out as well. The Kyuubi was under a Sharingan Genjutsu. Kakashi opened one. Is this part of the Fox contract? Female. Is Uchiha Madara still alive? What the hell happened? Madara Uchiha? Sasuke inquired, his face tense. Kakashi created a simple illusion in the air. An image of one of Konoha's 2 founders from his last portrait, complete with traditional Uchiha battle armor and weapons. That man was holding a Kama. That man had faked his death decades ago. That man had attacked the village on multiple occasions. That man was far more likely to have destroyed his own clan, murdered children in their beds, old men and women, civilians, than his pacifist older brother. That man would have to pay. Oh, and Naruto apparently held the Kyuubi. Whatever, she wasn't evil anymore, and if Madara was behind any of this, he couldn't say much. Sakura nodded. That made sense. But if he was a container, was he the only one? No, he couldn't be. All the other Biju are mentioned as being sealed in someone or something. And, come to think of it, the battle at the Valley of the End had ended with something vague being done to the Kyuubi by the first wife, Maido Senju. Maido Senju, ni Uzumaki. Maido Senju, ni Uzumaki. Okay, that was interesting. Hadn't Mandias said Naruto had a small amount of non-human chakra? Something to look into. The demon has escaped. Escape for your lives. Actually, it looks rather more like the Jinchuriki is using a slightly ludicrous amount of power to plow your field. Kakashi looked up from his book. The farmer turned, trembling, from his headlong panic. Naruto returned the cheerful wave, his 2 tails still carving long furrows in the ground. I'd like to register my team for the exams. Iruka blinked. Are you sure they're ready? They're actually, if anything, too late, Kakashi said, shaking his head. Sakura's resolved her split personality into a combat boost, giving her Chunin level Taijutsu, and probably pretty good illusion abilities as well, based on her clones. Sasuke has his Sharingan and a small repertoire of very basic techniques from all 5 elements, basically camping stuff, as well as some pretty good elemental fire techniques. As for Naruto, did you know that Jinchuriki shadow clones can form and stabilize a chakra cloak? The other Jonin took careful note to warn their students to avoid Team 7. Good morning, Sand Ninja, Sakura said as she passed by. Tell me, were you planning on holding the grandson of your allied village head hostage, or did it just happen? Temari, Kankuro, stop making a scene, Gaara said from his perch. Naruto approached Kankuro as he gasped and flinched away from his brother, saying, You seem somewhat similar to me. You have a summon contract. I don't, Gaara said, blinking. Oh, they're so cool. You do a series of hand seals, channel a lot of chakra, bite your thumb, and slam it on the ground. Naruto demonstrated, and Aya appeared with a puff of smoke. Warning, he appears to be entertaining. Will we go up against him? Or not? No, not today, Aya. I was simply demonstrating. Gaara silently worked the hand seals, bit his thumb, getting a lot of sand, but also some blood, and slapped his hand down. And then he vanished. Temari gaped. Did you just cause Gaara to self-destruct? Nope, grinned Naruto. And he'll be there in a few seconds. Gaara reappeared with a Bamf, looking exactly the same as before, except for a small tanuki on his shoulder. He was petting it. The sand. doesn't kill it. His voice was puzzled, not like the puppy, or the fish, or the cat, or Temeri's boyfriend. He turned to her and apologized. He appeared to slap you on the shoulder, and all I saw was yellow. Then there was red. A lot of red. Then I exited the room because there was a lot of blood on the walls. Temeri stuttered, sure. We're returning to our hotel room to await the start of the exams. And I'm going to see if I can summon any more raccoons or raccoon dogs. Thank you. Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage. Naruto exclaimed. First test is to see if you can answer those questions, right? Kyuda, Naruto subvocalized. Can you copy Hinata's paper from my neck? I'll let you know what she writes if I can read it from there. Neat. Okay. Keen, Ni, and Aya proceed to the heart of the forest. You two summon us there when I summon Keen. Understood, Keen said for all of them as the larger fox loped off into the forest, followed by Ni and Aya. Okay, fine. So you're an expert in infiltration. So, take this. Speedster has been summoned. Warning, Ikamaru, he exclaimed. Oh no, a fight. Budo. A nip drew blood from the Rain Genin's lower arm, and he hadn't even seen the silvery fox move. And bored. Rijin Budo. Gawa, take it away from me. Take it away from me. Sakura and Sasuke watched as one of the fox summons savaged their enemy at several hundred strikes per second, apparently having time between attacks to lean back and relax based on the flickering, hazy image they were getting. The Rain Genin eventually managed to get out of Budo Rijin's range completely, and Ikamaru dispersed. Naruto sent Kori after him to keep an eye on him, and returned to concentrating on moving through the forests. Nothing like 2 tails of chakra cloak to give anything a severe case of indigestion. Naruto grinned as the giant snake rained down around him. Kori, he asked, summoning the fox, did you get anything from the Rain team? Yes, the illusion master said, flicking his tail tip. And the cloaking illusions on 2 scrolls fell. One scroll that appears to be the opposite of the one you had, Earth to Heaven, and another one I can't open. He said. Alright, time to cheat, Naruto said as he took the scrolls from his summon. The firefox appeared in a puff of smoke, and then all 3 of them vanished from the clearing. See here, the prey provides something for the predator too. Sakura and Sasuke vanished in a cloud of smoke. The Sannin frowned. Damn. Okay, Naruto, how the hell did you finish the Forest of Death in an hour and a half? Summoning in reverse. Do you have any idea what this is, Sakura? It reminds me of those summon contracts you gave us, actually. But it's a lot bigger. Hold on a sec. Sakura switched aspects to her knowledge side and took a look. Naruto, would you mind showing me the main fox contract? After a quick summon, Sakura and Lanny were comparing the 2 massive scrolls. Yes, I see what you mean. This is similar to our core summon contract, but it's not aligned the same way. Where was this, Kori? I think it might have been forgotten in there in a pack. Well, if we're going to find out what it is. Sakura, you're the only one who doesn't have a master contract. Do you want to try it? Sakura clenched her fists and blinked. Yeah, the sleek otter appeared in the room after she slashed her blood across the prepared channel at the base of the scroll. Woo, that was quick. Hello there. I see someone has finally bothered to retry our contract. Creatures of 2 worlds, land and water. Appropriate, said Sasuke. Naruto took a look around. Several teams had made it through, including 1 sand team, which included the new raccoon summoner, and 1 sound team. The other 5 teams were all Konoha. That was neat. Clearly, the home team advantage was strong. Either that or Konoha's Genin were insanely powerful. Most of the ninja in the forest had fairly standard attacks, whereas every Konoha nin had something clan-based or personal that was difficult to defeat. Except for Kabuto, who just gave up yet again. Man, he sucked. Yoroi Ikado versus Naruto. So, how much chakra are you capable of draining? At least as much as a powerful Jonin. Yoroi boasted as he held Naruto's arm. Right, smirked Naruto, and the more chakra the target uses, the faster it drains. Yes, I can stop any trick you try to pull. Actually, I'm surprised you've not run out of chakra already. Yoroi collapsed to the floor twitching after Naruto activated his initial Jinchuriki state. Alright, that was just sad. Kankuro versus Ino. Ino threw the Yamanaka technique's special hand seal and launched a possession attack at her opponent. Kankuro rolled out as soon as it hit, the bundle of bandages bursting open. You only had control over my puppet. My combat puppet, with all of my weapons. Assistants. Temeri looked at Ino's slumped body and asked, can you even own a puppet? Apparently, Gaara grumbled. Shikamaru versus Sasuke. Shikamaru was just annoying. He barely moved, yet the Uchiha was strained keeping track of the shadow possession that was flicking all over the place. Then he had an idea and started working on one of his new camping techniques, a simple lightning technique that allowed you to read at night. But Sasuke decided to take a page from Naruto's book and overloaded it 30 or so times. The resulting flare of light was bright enough to dispel most of the shadows in the arena and weaken Nara's own mutable shadow, so Sasuke began to exploit the advantage. Sasuke managed to catch Shikamaru in a ring of fire by summoning a pair of wind-aligned hawks, drawing the attention of everyone in the room, and using their powerful wings to augment his phoenix flower. Shikamaru found himself checkmated and gracefully gave up because his shadow couldn't cross the flames themselves. Shino versus Gaara. The two locked their gazes on each other. After a few minutes of silence, Gaara spoke up, "I use sand. It serves as the ultimate defense and has never been breached. I use insects," Shino thought. "They allow me to use clones that are difficult to distinguish from the normal me, and they allow me to drain chakra at range. I have more chakra than most ninja below cage, so draining me would be a waste of time," Gaara said. "Furthermore, if I caught a clone in my sand, I could crush it and kill the insects. You'd eventually run out of them, leaving you vulnerable." Shino took a windmill shuriken from his coat pocket and tossed it with a flourish, hitting the sand defense and bouncing away. Shino nodded. "Then this will be a battle of wills." Shino turned away 15 minutes after their match started, saying, "I concede." Hinata versus Misumi. As soon as the battle began, the older Konoha nin pounced, wrapping himself around Hinata. "Got you now. Give up or..." He trailed off. "You are completely within the range of my divination." Hinata's eyes flashed into the Byakugan. Hinata used the only stage of the Kaiten she'd learned so far, blasting Misumi with chakra from every part of her body at once and completely enslaving him. Proctor, does this mean I win?" She tugged at her ties for a moment. "He's kind of unconscious. We'll go with that. Hinata is victorious." "Hello, guy. Can you come down here and..." "Well, pry this genin off of her." Yosh, Kin versus Neji. "Sensei, is it just me, or do those two look exactly alike?" Hinata asked, looking between the two ninja. "They really do," Kurenai said, blinking and paying closer attention. "Ouch," she winced. "Being an illusionist against a Hyuga is pointless." Neji triumphs. Tiba versus Lee. Gatsuga ARGH. Slam. Thud. Kurenai winced once more. "That boy. He's strong, fast, and skilled, and he's actually nice, but he needs to learn restraint." Yosh, Lee, you have defeated yet another opponent who focuses on Taijutsu. Guy Sensei. Everyone in the Konoha delegation turned away. Temari looked around at the flinching ninja and exclaimed, "What's the problem, GAH?" Gaara's sand formed a shield around him, shielding him from the sunset of youth. Temari versus Dasu. Sound Nin. Temari asked, raising an eyebrow. "Okay, goodbye." Breakthrough. Dasu's ability required him to get close to his opponent, which wasn't easy against a Suna Wind Mistress, so he, like Kiba, was quickly introduced to the wall. Tenten versus Zaku. Tenten winced as he was slammed into the wall by one of Zaku's attacks. "No ranged attack works on me," yelled Genin. "I can easily repel all of your attacks." He motioned to the sea of weapons that covered the floor. "So, tell me," the Konoha Genin said solemnly, "do you have enough arms, Zaku?" She yanked and waved her fingers, shaking out the wires that were attached to them. Well, Fuzaku noticed that all of her weapons were now flying at him from every direction. Crash. Tenten, you've won. And someone call a doctor. Sekira versus Choji. Sekira jumped lightly onto the floor and switched to her bookish aspect. A few clones to allow her to get close, then switch when she was in range and land a hit. Should work. And if it didn't, she had Tag and the other otters she'd summoned. She looks scary now. "Can I just not fight?" Choji asked Asuma. "Okay, fine, go ahead," Asuma sighed. At the very least, Ino made it to the finals. "That was anticlimactic," Kakashi remarked. "Wait, hang on." He looked at the genin who would be in the Chunin exams. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Temari, Gaara, Neji, Lee, Tenten, Ino, Hinata. Guy had noticed it as well. "My eternal rival," he exclaimed. "Should we make it a contest to see who of our young genin gets promoted? We'll have trained a team similar to the 3 Sannin if one of us manages a clean sweep." The proctor held up a board with the next month's matches: Naruto versus Neji, Tenten versus Temari, Sakura versus Ino, Lee versus Hinata, and Sasuke versus Gaara. The winners of the first 2 matches would then fight, followed by the winner of the first block and the third first-round match, and finally the final. "I'll train you, Sasuke." Sakura, "It might be better if you worked with Abisu here to fine-tune your low and mid-level techniques so that you can make better use of your excellent control." "Sorry, Naruto, but everyone I could find was busy except Kurenai, and I don't think you're cut out to be an illusionist." "No, that's fine. If I can't find anyone else, I'll just ask Mandias." "Oh, you're the Kyuubi container. How about I show you something really cool?" Sure, go ahead, Naruto said to the old toad summoner, recalling the day he first saw him last year. Now, pay attention. Summoning. A toad emerged from a cloud of smoke. Naruto paused. Is that all? Didn't you inquire about me with the old man? What exactly do you mean? The boy rolled his eyes and sat down, and Jiraiya exclaimed in surprise as he felt the familiar feel of sage chakra. What exactly are summoning? Out with this. Oh, hello again, Naruto, Mandius said as the smoke cleared. And who exactly is this? Jiraiya remained motionless, his face twitching as his mind rebooted. The kid just used sage chakra flawlessly, and he already has a summon contract. Simply brilliant. How the hell can you shape nature energy that well? It's not perfect. I mean, I can't keep it when I move, you know. Naruto frowned. Here, this might help, Mandius said as he slipped his tail into Naruto's pocket and pulled out one of the pamphlets. Impressive. But can you access the Kyuubi's chakra yet? Jiraiya said. Naruto raised an eyebrow and stepped into his one-tailed chakra cloak. Oh, have you heard of the Rasengan? Wow, something completely new. Please teach me. Good morning, Hinata. Are you ready to go to the stadium? Hinata nodded, not believing her own voice. Okay, so I might as well offer you a ride. But, in order to repay me, you must perform admirably, you understand. Come on, he's really fast, Naruto said as he climbed onto Kiin's back. Neji spun into the chitin, the Hyuga's ultimate defense, shedding the incoming attack and popping the clones. Summoning death from below. Naruto slapped his thumb on the ground. An enormous pair of jaws burst from the ground around his opponent and closed around Neji completely before disappearing back into the ground with a grinding roar. Is he dead? Blinked the proctor. Give it a minute, Naruto said, shaking his head. The great red maw erupted from the ground once more, its eyes crossing. Neji was spat out of the fox's mouth with a tui sound before it dispersed, and began shivering in place. Are you alright? Genma asked the branch Hyuga. Temari hid behind a tree, which seemed so wrong. Tenten fired a half-dozen explosive-tagged kunai from her crater, gradually digging a trench towards Temari, who had discovered early on that her wind couldn't actually reach the inside of the craters, and Tenten was using them ruthlessly to close in. We're raising twin dragons. Temari lunged out from behind the tree, relieved that the other Kunoichi had made a mistake. The long setup time of that move would allow her. I'm kidding. Temari was attacked by a hail of kunai, one of which exploded close enough to her fan to damage the paper. Temari rolled out of the way of a second round of 3 kunai, 12 shuriken, and a scythe and quickly conceded. Sakura's otter summon, Tag, was throwing javelins at her every time she tried to take a stance facing Sakura for hand seals, and with the occasional kunai from Sakura herself, it was getting tiring. She might be able to possess the summon. Sakura stood there watching Tag run straight into the mental attack, then dismissively dismissed the summoning technique. Ino's body gradually collapsed. There was a brief pause. Excuse me, Mr. Yamanaka, Sakura yelled up into the stands. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your family techniques. With the basic move, her mind returns to her body at a walking pace. Brilliant. I believe summons are in another dimension or something. Lutra, take this girl's body back when I dismiss you. That should let her get back fine. Sakura threw the summon hand seals again. Explain things to her if she's still possessing Tag. Keep her safe until I call you again. As you say, Sakura, the otter said before running away. Lutra vanished, carrying Ino with her. Winner, Sakura, said the proctor after a brief glance around. I'll summon Lutra back with her in 10 minutes or so, Sakura said absently, explaining her plan to Inoichi. Hinata stared at Lee. She knew she could do it, but if this boy was her cousin's rival, could she possibly beat him? Naruto's voice came from the crowd. Hey, Hinata, remember to do something spectacular. Awesome. Okay, she could handle that, especially if it was Naruto asking. Right, this guy was much stronger than her, so she needed to find a way to match that. The normal way the gentle fist worked was very wasteful of chakra, as each blast fired was lost whether it hit or not. Perhaps she could make some kind of chakra skin over her hands that only fired chakra when it hit the enemy. So, what shall we call it? Slow step, twin lion fists. Hayashi tripped over his milkshake. Lee gave a blink. Hinata examined her new technique carefully before smiling. I think I like this. Should we? Lee charged after nodding. Hinata eventually lost the fight, but it took Lee using the second gate to outrun her swinging fists. Hayashi raised an eyebrow, having recovered his composure that had been strange. Please report to the stadium, Sasuke Uchiha. This is getting ridiculous. Naruto's patience was wearing thin. Aya, will you summon Sasuke for me? Alright, Now, you don't have enough chakra to use it more than a few times a day, Kakashi said of the Chidori. Since you mentioned your summons and their fondness for long-range attacks, you might want to modify it as much as you can. I'll work with you on shape transformation. But for now, use it only as a last resort because it consumes far too much chakra. Use the less powerful lightning and fire attacks. A good combination to use is. In a puff of smoke, Sasuke vanished. Damn, Kakashi exclaimed. What is it? Said Sasuke as he appeared on the balcony. You're 5 minutes late for your match, Naruto pointed out. By the way, Sakura, Lee, Tenten, and I won. Sasuke jumped into the ring. Lance of Lightning. Sasuke's electric attack punched through Gaara's sand but dissipated as it did, prompting Gaara to respond with a hail of sand shuriken and pellets. Aura armor with electric aura. The thin curtain of electricity didn't protect against the sand's impacts, but it did overwhelm whatever of Gaara's chakra was in the tiny sand pellets, preventing them from remaining animate. The crowd oohed and awed as the lightning attack speared across the stadium, and Naruto grinned as Sasuke fired a grand fireball, and had Aya enhance it by fusing some of the sand into glass, before following up with a volley of lightning lances that weren't diffused by the glass as much as they were by the sand, one of which nicked Gaara's skin. My blood, Gaara sounded perplexed before flipping a few hand seals and slapping his hands on the floor. Did he just summon Totoro? Choji wondered. The large tanuki fired a water attack at Sasuke, intercepting his follow-up fireball volley, and the Uchiha dropped a lightning lance into the thin mist of water, which boosted it in the same way that wind boosts fire. Totoro was shattered by the enhanced electric attack, and Sasuke swallowed a soldier pill before channeling a large portion of his chakra into a large summoning. Though there was something about it, Kakashi flickered into the stadium to catch sight of his student finally summoning a hawk large enough to fly on. That's a Thunderbird, Lutra said from the balcony, having asked to stay to watch the rest of the finals. Is that what I think it means? A lightning bolt was thrown at Gaara by Sasuke's summon. A wide area sleep illusion pulsed out across the crowd as Gaara began to draw a lot of his own chakra for a larger summon. I think we're being invaded. Sakura rushed over to Naruto, checking to see if he was still awake. They're hiding behind the exam. Makes sense, Naruto said, nodding. Hello, Sasuke. Head over to a safe location and distract Gaara, then keep an eye out for me and I'll see what I can do. Sasuke banked his Thunderbird overhead and flew off to the side of the arena farthest from Konoha's center, pausing to fire a pair of lightning lances at the Suna Jinchuriki as a sand protrusion approached. Gaara demolished part of the stadium wall and followed, clearly intent only on continuing their fight. Naruto expanded his senses and drank deeply of Konoha's natural energy, then bit his thumb and worked a longer than usual string of hand seals, merging into the three-phase chakra of Sage Mode. Summoning Fox Army. Naruto was one of the first summoners in history to have enough chakra to summon every single fox on his contract. From the largest, 3 the size of large buildings, to the smallest, a tiny fox that was too small to fight and was primarily used for weapons-grade cute. That latter fox was sent after Temari, and in about a quarter of a second, she was completely immobilized. For a brief moment, Naruto panted. Hey, Sasuke, what are the major issues? Gaara's going crazy in the forest below me. There's a giant snake headed for the south wall, and the Kazekage has turned into some kind of snake demon trying to kill the Hokage, said Sasuke from above. Every Sannin on the battlefield turned around to look at the cage box. Right, let's see. Shadow clones. Naruto nodded. Hundreds of Naruto clones appeared next to him. Everyone knows the drill. 2 tails. A wave of Yokai bleed-off swept through the forest, and the small horde of clones dashed off to their designated areas. All Sand Ninja, Baki said quietly as he stabbed the Sound Nin next to him in the jugular. Change of plan, kill the Sound Shinobi. Gaara, who had begun to descend into the sand cloak, began forcing out his raccoon summons in the hopes that one of them would allow him to continue fighting Sasuke. One of his attempts, his chakra flared, and he summoned the boss of his contract. Shukaku. Gaara blinked, no longer hearing a voice in his head. The thing in front of him that sounded like his mother was clearly an enormous sand tanuki. Oh, and he was still surrounded by sand, but it wasn't demonic. The Shukaku then attempted to crush him. A lightning bolt struck the sand limb stretching out towards him and severed it, giving him time to scramble out of the way, and half a dozen Narutos wrapped in red-orange chakra began attempting to contain the one-tails. You're the container, right? An Arctic fox skidded to a halt next to him. Is your Biju completely insane? Please tell me. Yes, Gaara said, nodding. It attempted to transform me into a mass-murdering psychopath. I believe it was mostly successful, right? Nandias lunged forward, grabbing some of the sand falling off the tanuki and tasting it before spitting it out. That is, indeed, work sharing. If this is any indication, Madara has finished all of the biju. Naruto, please send one of you over here. Ni, you as well. Sakura switched to her warrior aspect, summoned the largest otter she could find, and had him begin hosing down the sand demon with water to slow it. Nandia's, Ni, and Naruto's clone landed lightly on hard, cracked mud. There's desert all around us. So what's this? Mandias asked, looking around. Some kind of desert oasis. Where's the biju? Shouldn't it be here? Naruto inquired. Perhaps, but we're inside the beast's mind, not the container. As a result, it may not be expected to have a form. Sakura is a special case. Most people's minds don't normally have such real personifications of themselves. Ni lectured, looking around. The two foxes covered their muzzles with their tails as a gentle breeze blew across the area, then abruptly strengthened into a gale as a sandstorm appeared on the horizon, and Naruto dropped back into his chakra cloak to protect himself from the flying sand. Oh, that can't be good. Mandias squinted. The sun, though high in the sky, was red, and there were 3 Tamo. It's the essence of Genjutsu, right? Naruto, pay close attention. I need you to use your entire allocation of Milla's chakra and spread your aura as far as you possibly can. I can't push it any further out, or I lose the solidity of the cloak and dispel in the sandstorm, Naruto said, his blue-streaked red aura of power expanding to form a tenuous globe several feet across. I can't push it any further out, or I lose the solidity of the cloak and dispel in the sandstorm. That should suffice. Force your chakra to form a random pattern. Consider swirls or something. On it, Naruto applied his first stage Rasengan principle to his entire extended aura of power, and a full tail of chakra in a scramble pattern shattered the illusion on the Shukaku like sugar glass. Jiraiya watched as 62-tail Naruto clones rampage through the battle lines, 3 of them tearing a giant snake apart before it hit the wall, and the rest hunting down and capturing Sound Ninja as well as Sand Ninja who hadn't heard Baki's order. I sort of feel redundant, said the Sannin, shaking his head ruefully. 3 of the clones leapt for the barrier and were violently torn to shreds, the barrier barely managing to break through even the 2-tail aura of chakra. One of the remaining clones attempted to pull more than 2 tails of chakra now that some was free, but dispersed as the unstable cloak forced him into a destructive transformation. Uzumaki, exclaimed a nearby ANBU. Please, you are unable to assist here. Go help out in the other battles in the village. Oh, I'm also there. In fact, I believe one of my clones just restored Shukaku's sanity. And when the clone dispersed, it was constantly apologizing. Yes, it appears to have worked. But do you realize how powerful this barrier is? Yamato examined the barrier carefully, saying, it's being powered by 4 ninja, so it can't be too powerful. Your clones almost made it, right? Naruto forcibly yanked out a 3rd tail of chakra, grimaced as his skin began to tear, and lunged for the barrier, passing through and out into the space Orochimaru had created to fight his teacher. 3 coffins rose from the ground and opened to reveal all of Konoha's former Hokages, and the Snake Sannin took advantage of the opportunity to use his impure world resurrection without being interrupted. Orochimaru wasted no time in sinking their control seals, albeit in a slightly different form than he'd intended. Allowing the spirits of his teachers to talk normally would help to demoralize the 3rd, and after all, that was the whole point of using them, whereas taunting the 4th would be fun. I'm not quite alive. Minato blinked. I see. Then, he noticed the boy staring at him, ignoring the 1st and 2nd who were conversing with the 3rd. Can it be? Naruto, how do you know my name? The boy asked, blinking. Wasn't I just some random kid Millie was sealed into? No, I knew exactly who you were. I chose your name, the 4th said, before his train of thought crashed. The foxes say thanks for breaking Madara's contract with them. By the way, Naruto absently passed over a pamphlet. And how did you become involved in deciding on my name? I'm your father. Don't you know that yet? Minato flipped through the pamphlet. Saru, what the hell happened? I thought it was for the best, the 3rd said, looking uneasy. I mean, it was supposed to be a secret that he also held the Kyuubi, but that has clearly fallen apart. Coo. Oh, this is delicious, Orochimaru chuckled darkly. Yondiam, assassinate your son. Help me kill the Sandiam, Shodiam and Nidiam. Minato threw a series of hand seals, and the area they were in was separated from the rest of the battle by a smaller barrier, after which the former Hokage sat. Ventured Naruto, shouldn't you be trying to kill me? I am. By my estimate, I have as much chance of killing you sitting here waiting for you to die of old age as I do going all out against you. If he said to try, I'd have to put in some effort. But keep that chakra cloak on, will you? Because it's what's giving me the loophole. Minato smiled. So, tell me, how's your life been so far? While we're at it, I'll tell you about my own life. Do these people have no concept of gratitude? I mean, come on. Raged the Namikaze, last wish of a dying hero. And I didn't expect them to be like this to Mito Uzumaki. Or your mother for that matter. Okay, I don't think we have much longer, so I'll say this, said the fourth. There's a soul fragment of me in the seal as a failsafe in case it completely collapses, and if you break it completely a second time, your mother will be there to help. Of course, it won't be necessary, and since she can see you, she knows exactly how you're doing. Let me just say this, I'm sure she's proud of you as much as I am. I couldn't ask for a better son. Live a long time, live well, and ask Jiraiya and Tsunade to assist you with your dream. They're your godparents, though I doubt they've told you that. Finally, never ever give up. I won't let you down, Dad, Naruto said, his eyes gleaming. Good. Now, the best way to get rid of this animation technique is probably to blow my head off. I know it can't be pleasant, but it has to be done. Bye, Dad. Naruto's chakra tails lashed out, and he sobbed as he destroyed the doppelganger of his hero, of his father. The third seizes the opportunity and uses Enma to knock the Kusanagi into the ceiling barrier, rendering it unreachable. Before Naruto smashed the first two Hokages and Orochimaru dropped the barrier to flee. Sighing, Sarutobi turned to the original, sat on the roof next to him, and looked over the half-demolished landscape of Konoha and the 30 or 40 Naruto clones running around it in two-tailed form still keeping an eye on things. I sincerely apologize, Naruto. I had intended to tell you when you arrived in Jonin, but I was mistaken. If there's one thing the invasion taught me, it's that I am not immortal. I intend to release whatever your parents left you tomorrow, and I'm almost certain you'll be promoted. Don't forget about Sakura and Sasuke, old man. They came in handy against the Shukaku. Indeed. So, how is Gaara doing? He's calm, I suppose. He's coming to terms with the fact that the Biju wasn't his mother and was insane, as well as the loss of his father. The sand appears to be a permanent part of his system. It actually defended him against the Tanuki before I restrained it. And he says he'll keep it as a memorial to his real mother. Perfectly resolved, then. And I agree with what you said about my predecessor and successor. Naruto, I'm proud of you. Thanks. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to be working with you for the next couple of months. Naruto rubbed the back of his head awkwardly. I have to go get Tsunade of the Sand and back to Konoha, because Jiraiya believes it will help him persuade her if I accompany him. Makes sense, Sakura said, nodding. She is, after all, your closest living relative. Naruto was taken aback. What? Mito Senju, ni Uzumaki, was her grandmother, so she's descended from another Uzumaki clan member. Phew, didn't notice. Oh, so that's where the name comes from. My father claimed she was the Kyuubi container when she was alive. Is that your father? Sasuke inquired, intrigued. Yeah, talk about a dream realized. When Orochimaru was trying to kill the old man, he summoned all the old Hokages, and it turns out that the fourth was my father. In shock, Kakashi slowly collapsed. Sasuke paused, nodded, and returned to shape manipulation, with plans to turn the Chidori into laser beams, Senbin, Shuriken, or, oh, so many possibilities. Naruto grinned. And hey, maybe when I get back I'll teach you guys the Rasengan. It's pretty cool, and Jiraiya mentioned that elements could be added to it. Kakashi twitched. Didn't Sensei never manage that? How far is Naruto willing to go against the norms of being a ninja?
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.